Happy Flag Friday, everybody. Week 8 and our flag number 8. You can't quite see the 8 on my little heart. There we go. So we're off again, another flag. We're going to do a stitch this week, and we're going to look at satin stitch. Really simple stitch, but we're going to try and look at it and create quite a nice effective flag. Sorry, got totally lost for words then. So I'm using as my backing a piece of felt. So it's a felted wool bundle that I got from Eliza Conway. I mentioned Eliza in one of the tags just after I'd been to Yarndale, because that's where I got my bundles from, and I know a few of you contacted her after Yarndale and she's sold out, but she's got some back in stock. So that's her website if anybody's interested in some felted bundles. Really lovely colours. It's wool blanket, it's been dyed and felted, and they're just really nice to work on. A really nice thickness that gives you a really solid background to start stitching. So I'll pop it in the bit of blurb as well, but that's where I got my felt from if anybody's interested in getting some felt from Eliza. Okay, so I've got my lovely green, love greens, and I've chosen some colours, and a little bit unusual for me, I've gone for a real contrast of colours. I just thought it'd be nice to do something that one colour that sort of matches in, so it's like a darker green tone to the background. Then I've gone for two colours that really pop out, so I've got a really nice contrast. I've chosen 3 colours, but again you can go for as many as you want. So I've got my template for my flag, and what I'm going to do is draw it out, but I'm not going to cut out the flag until the very end. I've got a water soluble pen, but by the time I cut it out I'll be cutting out on this line, so I won't have any of it showing. The reason that I'm going to leave it a little bit bigger is just because it's going to be easier to handle to do our satin stitch, and we're going to do meandering lines, so it'll be up to you whether you go horizontal or vertical. I'm going to go horizontal with mine. So I've got my little flags. This is my template, a little bit smaller, so it just makes it a little bit easier to use. And what we're going to do is just draw just sets of meandering lines. The pen's running out. If this one works a little bit better. It's not the easiest thing to draw onto is wool, so they can go wider and narrower. They could be parallel if you wanted to, but it'd be nicer if they sort of meander. So if you think a little bit like hills, we're not drawing hills, but it's that sort of feeling. There we go, that's sort of building up a little bit. So they could be parallel, turn it the other way. So they sort of like go wide and narrow and wide again. You're just going to work your way all the way down your flag, and then we're basically going to do satin stitch. Okay, so there we have my little meandering lines. So I've got my threads all ready, and you're just going to choose a line and just do a satin stitch. So satin stitch, oh god, put my teeth in. A satin stitch is basically a straight stitch, and they go right next to each other, so we're going to look for solid blocks of colour. So I'm going to start just in from my edge, because I've got to remember I need to go down and be able to cut that out, and you don't want to cut it and end up cutting your stitches. So it's just going up and down. You need to keep your stitches really nice and straight. So there's stitch number 1, and then you come back down to the bottom right next to where your last stitch was, and then back up to the top. Now the bit that you've got to be really careful with this is that you don't pull your tension on your thread too tight, which is why working on the wool or a thick fabric for the background works really nicely with this, because you've got something that's substantial that is not going to gather too much. If you've got like a really thin piece of cotton, or if you're going for a thinner background, if you want to do that, I would suggest that you do this in a hoop, just because you've then got your fabric nice and taut. You might even want to pop a bit of interfacing on the back if you've gone for something a little bit thinner, but I would go for a plain colour fabric and just really play around with the colours that you're going to stitch onto this. Now you could just go with the same colour all the way across. You could change the colours if you want to. I'm going a bit wonky. So to bring it back in, just go practically back down that previous stitch and it'll just start straightening it back up again. I'm using a thicker thread for this one, but my other threads that I've got, I'm probably going to double them up. Okay, so you can sort of see I'm building that up. So you can do that. You could leave a gap, which I think I'm going to do, and then I might slot another colour just inside there, so just leave myself a gap. Next one. So using the water soluble pen will just mean that when I finish this I can just go with a little brush with only the tiniest bit of water on it, and it'll just disappear off. You need to be careful with your backing fabric, because some of the pens that you get are sort of like heat away ones, so you use an iron. Well, you'd need to be careful with your background fabric, because you don't really want to iron everything flat, which is why I think it's good just to have a different, like a little range of different pens or pencils or chalks or whatever. So this is going to be quite a quick video, because I'm not going to sit here and just video the whole of me doing this, because that won't be very, very interesting. So like I say, you could do a solid colour all the way across. So if I just pop that there, because I'm going to keep on using that. But then what you can do, so this one, this thread I've got, this is a stranded cotton, and I have split it down to 3 strands, and then I've doubled it rather than just using a 6 strand. But you could just use a 6, and then I'm going to have this come in and just fill in between. Now what I need to try and do is stop it from twisting, because I want it to lie, that's it, nice and flat. So I'm going to do a little pop of yellow. Just got that tension just a bit tight on that then. There we go. It's a little pop of yellow. But like I said at the beginning, I've done mine horizontally. There's no reason why you couldn't do it vertically. Go. Let's get it so that my needle is bang smack in the middle again. Now you can then leave some of it, you can leave your wool colour. You might then have some of your satin stitch that goes right next to the one that you've just done. But the idea is we're going to end up with these beautiful bands of colour on your background, just sort of meandering across. So you can see there's a lovely pop of colour. So I've got to try and fit a couple more stitches in, so all I need to do is just pull that just to one side. So I've just used my nail just to pull those threads to one side, just so that I make sure that I'm really fitting that colour in. You don't want to leave a gap at all. So you should end up with practically the same on the back as well as the front, probably not as neat on the back. Okay, and then you can just give it a bit of manipulation, so you'll end up with this lovely sort of like shapes going across. And then if you didn't want to do that yellow again there, you don't really have to tie it off at the back. You can then just come back in over on the next one. Does use quite a bit of thread, this, because obviously you're going double. You could come back up there, but because we're getting them so close together, what can happen is when you come back up, you actually end up bringing the thread that you've just popped down back up. So this is the basic technique, satin stitch. We're really simple. Mind you, I keep saying this, don't I? Oh, we're going really simple, and then it ends up not being simple. So this is something I'm going to sit and do this evening while I'm sat watching the telly. Just carry on playing with the satin stitch, and then I'll put some pictures like usual at the end. So there we have it. That's going to be our tag, meandering satin stitch. So what I'll do then is cut it out and pop it on the top of the flag, and I'll pop some photos right at the very end of the video so that you can see what I have been doing. So I hope you enjoyed this week. Bit of a quick video, mega quick video today. Yeah, really quick Flag Friday. I'm saying that, quick demo, probably take quite a while to do the flag. So I will pop some pictures at the end. Please continue to share them on Instagram and Facebook, and let people know what we're doing, and we're doing our flag project. If anybody wants to join in, there's no limit to the number of people that can subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next week. Happy stitching. Mwah.